Afternoon, race fans. Welcome back after the lunch break. We are starting a little earlier than planned with our afternoon session here on day 2 on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit here on BARC TV. Our next race coming to the line will be the cars we saw during the lunch break from race 1 yesterday. It's the Orange Aero Pre 83 touring cars, the Group 1 touring cars, and the Fulltech Pre 66 Classic and Historic touring cars. Results of yesterday's race determining the grid, and an interesting race it was as well. Great fight up front between Stephen Primet and Will Davison, and they will head up the grid for this one. Primet on pole on the outside alongside the BMW of Will Davison. The second row, 85 Jonathan Corker, lost the higher gears in his gearbox. That's why the little Datsun 510 was struggling down the straights yesterday. He starts alongside Mark Chollerton, number 81, with his Ford Escort Mark II. Row 3, a pair of Mark 1 Escorts, 197 Graham Smith and number 10 Jason Christie. Then we've got the first of the Pre-66 cars, the winner yesterday, Peter Holford in his Ford Mustang. Starts alongside the very smart Mark 1 Golf of 148 Don Hughes. Row 5, 74 Carl Shreve in his Triumph Dolomite Sprint, carrying one of our cameras. Starts alongside the BMW of 125 Jackson Goodrum. Row 6 is the Ford Falcon Sprint of number 77 Alan Greenall. Alongside him, number 13 John McGurk. He's in a Ford Lotus Cortina. Row 7, the Capri of David Thomas, number 12, starts alongside the Ford Anglia of 52 Billy Keneally. He's one of our camera cars as well in this one. Row 8, we have 223 Gary Townsend in a Lotus Cortina, and Steve Walden's BMW E30. The two championships nicely mixed on the grid here. On row 9, 43 Malcolm Best in a Ford Capri, and 88 Mike Broadway with his BMW 2002. The 10th row, 126 Ken Bridden, another E30 BMW, and the 16 car is Anton Martin in his Ford Escort Mark III. Row 11, 102 Ed Gibbs, he's in an Anglia, had a spin in yesterday's race, and alongside him is newcomer number 34 Will Egby in the Lone Hillman Imp, the ex-Freddie Brown car. Row 12, number 6 Michael Foley, former Morris Minor racer, now in a Lotus Cortina. And say the same for Keith Wright alongside him, he's in his Lotus Cortina this weekend, still got his Morris Minor though. Then we have a Morris Minor, number 96 Jim Henshaw. He starts alongside Pat Keneally, who ended up in the gravel trap on the last lap of yesterday's race, the father of Billy. Row 14, a couple of cars that failed to finish yesterday. Nigel Cox, number 47, in his Lotus Cortina, pulled off at Abbey in yesterday's race. Kevin Swan in the Ford Anglia number 539 had a few mechanical problems both in qualifying and the race yesterday. Watch out for fireworks, and towards the back we've got Mark Osborne, number 49. The Triumph Dolomite Sprint was a first lap casualty yesterday. He'll streak his way through from there. Alongside him is the Mini, number 21 John Davies. The Davies family sharing that Mini this weekend. There's John in the red Mini. Then we've got Brian Bedford in the number 26, the greenish grey coloured, I'm not sure what you call that colour, Austin A40. He's taken that over from Steve Evans, the two drivers sharing the car. And I'm pleased to see at the back of the grid there the reigning Pre-66 champion, Luke Wilson, number 11. He failed to start yesterday's race in his Austin A40, so he'll have to start from the back. This will be a 25-minute race. This race yesterday was much the race of the weekend. Brilliant battle between Will Davison, look at him flicking the BMW from side to side there, behind Stephen Primet, the 10 times Pre-83 champion in the Escorts. Jonathan Corker hoping for a better run today. On board with Billy Keneally, newcomer last year with his Ford Anglia. That's the ex-Robin Slater car. It's had a couple of wins in its time. Mentioning Will Egby in the Hillman Imp as well. He is a YouTuber going racing this year. See the little blue and white Imp towards the back of the grid there. His gearbox failed, we're told, in qualifying yesterday, and it's been replaced with the help of a certain James Ibbotson, the former Pre-66 touring car champion of 2021, runner-up last year. Apparently it's the same gearbox that was in his car when he took a win at Donington last season. Whether it'll make Will Egby go sideways, we'll wait and see. Those of you who were watching last year will know how spectacular James Ibbotson was. We haven't seen him out racing this year. Hopefully we will soon. On board with Carl Shreve. in the Triumph Dolomite Sprint, number 74. He had a good run to 9th place yesterday. You can see Pete Holford ahead of us in the big Ford Mustang. He scored the win overall in the pre-66 division of this race. 2 championships mixed in together. Through the loop, then on to Aintree. Tighter than it looks, that left-hander there. There's Aintree down to the Wellington Straights. There's Mark Osborne, the Welshman. First lap casualty with some problems with the Dolomite yesterday. There's Luke Wilson, the maroon car. And Brian Bedford back in his Austin A40, shares the car with Steve Evans. The Davies family share their Mini, the only Mini we've got here this weekend as well. Yes, hello to James Ibbotson, he's watching on. Probably hoping his gearbox stays in one piece in Will Egby's car. It's the cream-coloured Mark 1 Escort on pole position. We'll start from the outside. Now, yesterday, in slightly more damp conditions, the BMW got the best getaway of Will Davison and charged into the lead, so we'll see if he does the same here. Watch for Alan Greenall. There's the big Ford Falcon in the background. There's Don Hughes, the yellow and white Mark 1 Golf. We normally see him in his Peugeot 306 in the pre-03 touring cars, but trying something different this season. Steve Walden, the bright red and white BMW. Malcolm Best, Ford Capri veteran. The blue Cortina there is Keith Wright. Marshals have them into line. Watch for Mark Chollerton, the man from Norfolk, in the Mark 2 Escort on the left. Is this going to be Davison versus Primet once again? We had an epic battle yesterday. 25 minutes, a longer race this time. We had a safety car in yesterday's race to recover Mark Osborne's stranded Triumph. We hope not to see a repeat of that. Here we go. Revs are up for 25 minutes of action and the pack is unleashed. Here we go with the pre-83 and pre-66 touring cars. Davison gets away well, so does Corker. Down towards that first corner they head. Now who's going to be leading as they head up towards Maggots and Beckett's for the first time? Around the outside there goes Ed Gibbs in the Anglia, battling with Ken Britton's BMW. Malcolm Best there in the Capri. He's had that for many years. It is Davidson who's got the lead, and down to third goes Stephen Privet because Jonathan Corker's got a corker of a start, and he's up into second place in the little Datsun 510, the only one of its kind racing in the UK. Mark Chollerton's Escort is fourth as the sun starts to burn through the cloud at last here at Silverstone. Jason Christie in fifth. Leading the pre-66s is the big Mustang of the Canadian Pete Holford as they head out towards the Hangar Straight for the first time. Will Davison in the E30 BMW leads them through. Corker in second place. We go on board with the Triumph of Carl Shreve into Stowe Corner, chasing Jason Christie at the wheel of the Escort just ahead of us. The camera car is Billy Keneally's Anglia further back in the pack. Down the Vale, see it's not certainly as even as it looks, then into Club. Davison, Primet's got through into second place, he's got ahead of Jonathan Corker. Fourth place we have Mark Chollerton, it's Holford, Christie, Shreve, Graham Smith, Don Hughes and Ken Britton. Looks like he's up into 10th place, so that may be Jackson Goodrum. They're similarly coloured cars. Down the Hamilton Straight towards Abbey, it is still wet on that part of the circuit. Is that Mark Osborne already making moves towards the lower end of the top 10? Looks like it. We're on board with Shreve once again as they head up towards Village. The left at Farm first of all, then into the right-hander. There's our leader, Will Davison. Not to be confused with the Australian racer of the same name in touring cars. Stephen Primet in second place in the Escort, looking for a double win this weekend. Pete Holford looking for a double in the pre-66 divisions, holding off Jason Christie's Mark 1 Escort as they slide their way out and head towards the Wellington Straights. Expect to see that Mustang getting very sideways here as Primet has stayed on the tail of Will Davison down the straight there, but the BMW holds the lead into Brooklands. Jonathan Corker keeping up with them, those three trying to break away from the rest of the field. Round the double right-hander at Luffield. Primet is getting ready to attack here as they come towards the pit straight. Cholerton is fourth ahead of Holford. Over the line to complete lap number 1. Davison from Primet, Corker, Cholerton, Holford. Jason Christie in behind. Primet right on the tail of the BMW as they head around Copse Corner for the second time in this longer than they're used to, this race, the 25-minute race. Normally 15 or 20-minute sprints. Into Beckett's. Slightly tighter line taken by Primet in the Mark 1 Escort. Carl Shreve in the background in the Triumph, under fire there from Graham Smith. Vastly experienced historic racer in the Mark 1 Escort. He raced Caterhams for many years as well. It's all over the back of the 74 Triumph Dolly Sprint. Speaking of Dolomite Sprints, let's have a look where Mark Osborne is up to. He's in 12th place at the end of lap number 1. He's gained 14 places from the back of the field. Now Shreve closes onto the tail of Jason Christie in the number 10 Escort. Through Stowe Corner. Behind them, Don Hughes under fire. That's from Jackson Goodrum in the number 125 BMW. And still Will Davison has the lead, looking for what I think will be his first outright win in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. Shreve up the inside there, nearly took Jason Christie in the club. That was very close indeed. And now Primet is in attacking mode. They head up towards Abbey. He's not close enough to try and go through on the inside this time. You can see the dry line has emerged. Further back in the order, Graham Smith on the attack. I think that was in the Escort. Tricky to see because of the sunlight. Yes, sunlight after all the rain we had earlier. Through the infield loop. Still William Davison holding on to the lead in the number 17 BMW. Down the Wellington straight they go. Stephen Primet, the Bedfordshire driver on his local circuit, desperate for another victory. He's having a look here. He's going to try and slingshot down the inside into Brooklands. He's not going to do it. Still Davison has the lead. Corker just keeping a watching brief. The little Datsun 510 in the Works Datsun colours there, the blue and white with the red chevron. 3 cars line astern, red, white and blue. If only they were minis. Got 1 mini in the field, John Davies towards the back of the field. Lost 1 car on the first lap, the Morris Minor of Jim Henshaw. As Primet has a look on the inside at Copse. He's not close enough though. Up towards Maggots once again for the 3rd time. Fastest lap of the race recorded by Corker. 2:38.103. A few tenths quicker than the 2 ahead of him. Here's David Thomas in his Ford Capri. He's running 12th. Alan Greenall behind him in that magnificent Ford Falcon. He's taken many wins in the pre-66s over the years. We're having to give best this weekend to Peter Holford in the Mustang. It's behind them, it is Billy Keneally, 3rd in the pre-66 division in his Ford Anglia, and he'll be leading his class. Class C. Keneally sideways in the Anglia, very popular as a short circuit hot rod, the Ford Anglia. We're with him and he goes up the inside, he passes the much more powerful Ford Falcon of Alan Greenall. I'm sure Greenall will blitz back ahead on the straight though. Yes, he does already. Just can't match the brute force in a straight line of the big Ford Falcon Sprint. Closing on Dave Thomas, who's been racing Ford Capris for longer than I can remember. Keneally flings the Anglia to the inside. Good car control there from the young gun. It's almost 3 wide for the lead. Look at this into Abbey and up the inside. Corker, I think, has taken the lead. Where did that come from? Can he hold it through Farmer Village? He's done it. Oh, brilliant from Jonathan Corker. Just 1 win, I believe, for that Datsun so far, if memory serves me right. That was at Brands Hatch a couple of years ago. And suddenly he's passed Davison and Privet. They were so busy fighting each other, I don't think they even noticed that Jonathan Corker was there. And Corker goes into the lead in one move through Abbey. That was a brave bit of driving. Here comes Primet now. That unsettled Davison, you can see, ran a bit wide coming off Aintree up towards Brooklands. Primet up the inside, he's going to take second place. Yes, he's done it. And Jonathan Corker leads in the Datsun. Davison goes down to third, the former junior saloon car start. They're just over 3 seconds clear of Mark Chollerton's escorts. Jason Christie is up in a 5th position. Further back, he's ahead of Pete Holford, who still leads the pre-66s in the yellow Ford Mustang. Over the line, Jonathan Corker leads the way. Less than a second covers the top 3. There's Chollerton in the background. Can Will Davison fight back? Out towards Maggots once again. Primet is in attacking mode now. Jonathan Corker will be hoping that he has all his gears for the rest of this race. As a bit further back, there's Steve Walden's BMW, and Corker a little bit sideways. Primet a little bit sideways coming through Beckett's there. He just about holds it together. That's allowed Jonathan Corker to get away just a little. This is impressive from the little Japanese machine. Not too often we see the escorts beaten in pre-83 touring cars. There's Chollerton in the background, a long gap back then to Jason Christie. Looks like Carl Shreve has got through into 3rd place, and Graham Smith may have done into 6th place rather. Graham Smith may have got through as well there, so Pete Holford I think has dropped back. Leaders make their way into club corner. Mark Chollerton trying to close up on them. Could he make this a 4-way battle? Here's a scrap further back. Gary Townsend in 223, the former Mazda MX-5 racer, fighting it out with number 88, the BMW 2002. Will Egby's Hillman Imp in there as well. Mike Broadway in the BMW. Nice little gaggle of cars ahead. The Mount Best in the Ford Capri, Ken Britton's BMW, John Davies in the Mini, 102 Anglia of Ed Gibbs. There's Townsend, there's Mike Broadway's BMW. This is for the lower reaches of the field, really. Battling for around 17th place, this lot. There's Graham Smith, number 197, with his escort on the tail of Carl Shreve. Yes, Peter Holford seems to have dropped back in the Mustang. If he hits problems, it will be Alan Greenall who inherits the lead of the pre-66 division. Leaders up towards the right-hander at Luffield, and Primet's going for the inside as they come out of the second part of Luffield. Corker's gone wide. Primet doesn't need asking twice. He goes through, takes the lead from Jonathan Corker, and pulls away down the pit straight. Now is Davison going to make a move for 2nd place? So many times before we've seen Stephen Primet not quite as strong from the start, and then comes on strong in the second half of races. Davison is throwing that BMW around in that 3rd place as he tries to recover, tries to attack Jonathan Corker's Datsun. Chollerton still 4th, then Christie, Shreve, Smith, Halford's back to 8th place. Goodrum and Don Hughes in the Golf rounding out the top 10. Top 7 cars all in the same class, pre-83 Class C. Halford's leading his class, so is Don Hughes in the pre-83s. David Thomas leads pre-83 Class B in the Capri. The Keneally's, father and son, are both leading their classes. Pat, having come through the field, he went into the gravel yesterday. Mark Osborne's good run through the field has come to an end. Unfortunately, he's pulled into the pits. More problems for the Dolomites. 27 cars left running out of the 29 who started. Stephen Primet continues to lead. Squeal of tyres as they fling these cars around Silverstone with abandon. Here's the battle further back in the order. 1 or 2 cars with wipers going, so there might be a bit of rain falling again as Gary Townsend pulls the Cortina ahead of John Davies' Mini. Ed Gibbs in the Ford Anglia behind. That one's got the more traditional grille on it. It's the sort of wide mouth grille as opposed to the square that Billy Keneally's has got. Anglia. 1966 was British Saloon Car champion, if memory serves me correctly. John Fitzpatrick was the driver. Later to become a star of sports car racing for many years. Malcolm Best getting past one of the BMWs, that was Ken Britton. There is the Mini. John Rhodes was the pioneer of driving a Mini by just slinging it into the turn and sliding it round. Like Broadway's BMW 2002. They featured more often in the European Touring Car Championship than the British saloons. Ed Gibbs, a bit of a wiggle there. Behind them is Will Egby. He's got Anton Martin's Mark III Escort on his tail. Still Primet's your leader. We've got 11.5 minutes of this race to go. Further back in the pack with Carl Shreve once again. This is the battle for 6th position with Graham Smith. Along the pit straight they go. Shreve in the slipstream. There's Don Hughes in the Golf in the background. He's got ahead of Pete Holford. I'm wondering if Pete's having issues with the Mustang, because he was right up in the top 5 early on. He's dropped back to about 9th place now. Don Hughes' transponder's not working. He's recorded as not coming through on that lap. Fastest lap of the race by Jonathan Corker once again, 236.568. We'll have to watch as he goes into Abbey. This time, oh, Carl Shreve makes a mistake. Now, was that a mistake, or is the track getting damp again? Certainly gone dark again here at Silverstone. So was that a mistake, or did he slip on some fluid? Don Hughes behind him, then it's Holford. And Jackson Goodrum's BMW is behind them. Graham Smith throws the Escort through the right-hander at Stowe Corner. The gap for the lead was 0.6 of a second at the line. There's a slowing Austin A40, that's Brian Bedford. He's been lapped, he's running at the tail of the field. We've lost just 2 cars, Jim Henshaw's Morris Minor and Mark Osborne's Triumph. Still Holford well clear in pre-66 of Alan Greenall. 3rd is Billy Keneally's Anglia. There's Greenall. David Thomas's Capri behind him as they come through Club. That's the battle for 12th overall. Thomas leading his class. Here's the fight for the lead, and Primet's back in front. Jonathan Corker tried at Abbey, but couldn't quite get the moves to stick. And Primet leads from Corker, Davison in 3rd. It's close between these 3. They're lapping one of the tail enders there. Corker tries the outside this time. It was Keith Wright's Cortina they were lapping. Former Morris Minor man. 9 minutes to go. Over the line they go. 1.5 seconds covers the 3 of them. Can Jonathan Corker find the space for another attack on Stephen Primet, the 10 times champion? Davison ran wide there. If he does that again, he might get a warning for exceeding track limits. If you do that too many times, you could get a penalty. Through Beckett's. Corker trying again. He closes up. Seems to be stronger on the turns. But Primet's got the straight line speed advantage. Or has he? Or has he? Because look at the way Jonathan Corker's going now as they come down the hanger straight. Can he get into position to make a move under braking for Stowe Corner? Not quite. Primet covers. These 3 are way ahead of the rest. They're only 10 seconds clear of Mark Chollerton's Escort in 4th place. Out of Stowe. The Vale and up towards Club. Corker closes right away. This is where he's stronger, on this back part of the circuit. Side by side there between Pat Keneally, the ex-lightning rod racer on the short ovals, among other things, and one of the BMWs. That's Ken Bridden. second best just ahead of them in the Capri. Seven and a half minutes of this race to go. There go the leaders. Still Primet. What can Jonathan Corker do? He seems to have overcome his gearbox issues from yesterday. Davison just watching on from behind. You can see it's still wet under the bridge, but majority of the circuit is dry. There's the reigning Pre-66 champion, Luke Wilson, with the Austin A40, and he's going to be lapped by the overall leaders, the Pre-83 cars. Luke Wilson failed to start yesterday's race, had to start today at the back of the grid. Corker closes to win less than a length of the Escort again. He goes out wide, he's going to try and cut in on the exit, but he's not close enough. Swings to the inside now. Is Primet going to get bolts? No. Moves across, takes the back marker, pulls away again. Maybe that's what Jonathan Corker was banking on there. Davison has dropped a little further behind. He lost about a second on that last lap to those he's pursuing. Well, Davison continues to sit in third place. Cholerton is fourth, then Christie, Smith and Shreve, Don Hughes, Peter Holford and Jackson Goodrum. Holford leads the Pre-66 division. Jonathan Corker tries again, throws the car through Beckett. He's having a look on the inside. He's never going to get through there, surely. He is. He's done it. Oh, where did that come from? Fantastic bit of driving by Jonathan Corker. Slung it through on the inside at the exit of Beckett's. Now, can he hang on? Down into Stowe corner. Primet moves to the inside. Now we've got a race on our hands. Here comes Stephen Primet. He's surely going to retake the lead into Stowe. Yes, he's done it. Retakes the little Datsun. But Jonathan Corker is loving this. Not very often you see a move there made through the exit of Beckett's like that. There's our Pre-66 leader, Pete Holford. He's dropped back a bit down the overall order. He's behind Jackson Goodrum now. I'm wondering if that Mustang does have an issue. He does seem to be off the pace. Perhaps it's the brakes. They do tend to boil their brakes, these big American beasts. There's a lot of car there to stop as Graham Smith draws past Don Hughes in that lovely Golf. Jackson Goodrum's BMW next to them. There is Holford. Now his nearest pursuer is about 20 seconds back, Alan Greenall's Falcon, in the Pre-66 division. They are in the same class. The next Pre-66 is the Class C leader, Billy Keneally's Anglia. Jonathan Corker trying to make another move. Be about 3 laps to go in this race as Brian Bedford moves aside in his Austin A40 to let the leaders through. I think he's 2 laps down now. We seem to have lost the Hillman Imp, unfortunately. That's disappeared from the timing screen. So here comes Corker again. To the outside through Luffield. Is he going to try and power around the outside or cut back in? Cuts back into the inside. Can he get up alongside Primet? Primet moves to cover. You can see how much ground Jonathan Corker gained there through Luffield, taking that slightly different line. Certainly working here. Over the line they go. 8 laps completed. Corker's still got the fastest lap of the race. Less than 0.2 of a second between the two of them. They're dropping Will Davison now, the BMW. Primet goes a little bit wide. Is Corker going to send it up the inside again, coming into the right-hander of Beckett's? I don't think he'll be close enough. Look at the gap Primet's got there as they come into the right-hand, the first element of the Beckett's complex. Right, left. Corker's not going to be close enough. He has closed up. That Datsun is better handling than the Escort, I would say, in this race. We've got just over 3 minutes to go, and here comes Corker. Can he get him into Stowe? This is where Primet retook the lead a lap ago. Primet holds the lead. Change for 6th. Carl Shreve's got the triumph ahead of Graham Smith's Escort. Brian Bedford, not surprisingly, has pulled the A40 into the pits. That car was getting slower and slower. And talking of slowing, oh, Carl Shreve's pulling off. Just saw in the background there, the Triumph has hit problems. That's our camera car, sadly, out of the race. Yep, there he is. Pulls over on the run towards Beckett's. Carl Shreve out of the race. There's Pete Holford. Rumble of the Mustang. His last lap, only a couple of seconds off his personal best. He's dropped back a little. He's taking it a bit easy, perhaps. Looking for his pre-66 double. Here are the leaders. So Carl Shreve's demise leaves Graham Smith 6th. Don Hughes and Jackson Goodrum fighting for 7th. Holford will now be 9th. I think it's Steve Walden's BMW into the top 10, the orange and white machine. Leaders lap one of the Lotus Cortinas. I think that was Michael Foley in the number 6. Blue flag being shown to him there to let him know Will Davison is there. Primet has, if anything, stretched his lead a little. Let's see what's going to happen into Luffield this time, because this is where Corker can close up. Which line's he going to take? He stays in the wheel tracks of the Escort this time. The Escort tries to get the better exit from the right-hander, then can get his boot down the straight. There's 1 minute 20 left on the clock, so this will be the last lap. There's the last lap board out. There's a black and white flag going out to somebody as well. Didn't see the number. We'll double check that on the timing screen if we've got a notification. Car 223 has got a 5-second penalty, we've been told. That's Gary Townsend for exceeding track limits. So 5-second penalty for car 223. We're on the last lap now, and this is Jonathan Corker's last chance to attack. Down the Hanger straights, Will Davison looking on. Now what can the Datsun pilot do? To Stowe for the last time. Corker looking for what I think will only be his second outright win in the pre-83 touring cars. Down the Vale towards Club. Will Davison's closed back up again a little, and Primet, if anything, has pulled away by a few lengths there. So it's looking good for Stephen Primet for yet another victory. Here's a battling pair of Lotus Cortinas. That's Gary Townsend on the back of Pat Keneally. They're battling for the class lead, but of course, as we understand it, Gary Townsend's got that penalty. Leader coming up to lap Anton Martin in his Ford Escort. Got quite a few classic Fords and a BMW in his collection, has Anton. And keeping it ahead of Jonathan Corker there. That could have lost Corker his chance, because he took a bit of time to get through past the back marker. Can he catch Primet? The Escort, we know, is a bit stronger in a straight line. I don't think he's going to do it now. The clock has counted down to 0, so it'll be checkered flag this time. He's got a safe margin over Jonathan Corker, but a great effort by the Datsun driver. Through Brooklands up to Luffield for the final time for the man from Bedfordshire, Stephen Primet. It's going to be 2 wins out of 2 to kick off his quest for an 11th title in style. The undisputed king of pre-83 touring cars comes in to take yet another victory. Stephen Primet takes the win. Corker a fine second. Will Davison's had a great weekend. He comes in third. Behind them lapped is Anton Martin. Here is Pete Holford in 8th overall. He's going to win the pre-66 division for the second time this weekend in the Mustang, and still these two Lotus Cortinas are at it. They're chasing Malcolm Best in the Capri as well. That's coming out of Stowe. Mark Chollerton has taken 4th. He was 24 seconds back in 4th place. There's the Escort. And then another gap back to Jason Christie, who will take 5th. It should be Graham Smith next home. We go on board with Billy Keneally. He's in 12th overall, 3rd of the pre-66s. There's Graham Smith over the line. He finishes in 6th place. Jackson Goodrum, a good 7th in the BMW. And here's Pete Holford, sliding the Mustang home, one of his collection of Ford Mustangs, to finish in 8th place. And he wins the Pultec pre-66 touring cars. Roy Pierpoint would be proud. Steve Walden is next home, a good 9th. Alan Greenall, second of the pre-66s in the Big Falcon, aka Frank Gardner. And there's Luke Wilson over the line. Not the best of weekends for the reigning champion. He'll come over in 22nd place. We've lost Don Hughes on that final lap as well. The Golf has dropped out somewhere. We saw Carl Shreve dropped out too. So the Golf has come to its demise somewhere. Completing the top 10 was Greenall, ahead of David Thomas in the Capri. Billy Canini will come in 12th by the look of things in the Anglia. Just waiting for him to cross the line. And he will complete the top 3 overall in the pre-66 division. Have a look at the class winners. Billy Keneally comes over in 12th, so the class winners, pre-83 Class C goes to Primet, pre-66 Class A to Halford, pre-83 Class B goes to Dave Thomas, pre-66 Class C to Billy Keneally, pre-66 Class F for the Lotus Cortinas, that's been won by Pat Keneally because Townsend got that penalty. Pre-66 Class W, that goes to John Davies in the Mini. Pre-83 Class D to Anton Martin's Escort a lap down. Pre-66 Class D to Luke Wilson, so he gets some championship points on the board at least. And Pre-66 Class E would have gone to Will Egby, but he failed to finish. That's a great shame. I hope it's not James Ibbottson's gearbox that's gone bang. There's the provisional result then, 1 second, .005, the winning margin for Stephen Primet after a great battle with Jonathan Corker. Will Davison takes third, just over a second back, and he got fastest lap, 2:35.603. Mark Chollerton fourth, ahead of the escorts of Christie and Smith. Jackson Goodrum gets one of his best results with the club so far in 7th. Peter Holford wins the pre-66 division in 8th place in the Mustang, and Steve Walden and Alan Greenall complete the top 10 ahead of Thomas, Keneally Jr., Best, Ken Bridden, Keneally Senior completing the top 15. Race winner completed 10 laps, time of 26:17.234. So waiting for the cars to head into Parc Fermé. Next up is our second Brick Car Trophy race of the day. Hope you're all enjoying the action so far. Do give us a like and subscribe to the British Automobile Racing Club if you're watching. We've got over 800 of you on the stream at the moment. Thanks for being with us. Over 150 likes as well. Thank you very much. We can head down to Ian Waterhouse in the pits now to hear from some of the drivers in Parc Fermé.
Right, everybody, welcome back down to Parc Fermé. That was a corker of a race, wasn't it, between Stephen Primet and Jonathan Corker right here. Stephen Primet actually just going onto the weight scales now, just to make sure the car's fully legal. And he has officially taken the checker flag in first place. Looks like everything's okay. It's going to be Jonathan Corker's turn. Let's quickly grab William Davison. I did speak to him a little bit earlier, finishing third place. William, happy with that one?
Yeah, but I wish we'd kept fast for a while. I led for a while and lost it, but they were quicker than me. So, yeah, not unhappy, I suppose.
It was a great race, and you actually had prime position for that battle. Where you're thinking, hang on, if something goes on here, I'm slipping right through.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd got battling, give me catch up a little bit. But once they broke the toe, I just couldn't get back near them again, and they were so clean. There wasn't really much battling or to take advantage of, really.
It's quite an important part round here, the toe, isn't it, Silverstone? Certainly on the Hamilton straight.
Those straights are so long, you also have a nap on them sometimes, and when you haven't got a toe, you're sat a miles behind. It does feel a bit like a long way to get to the corner.
But there you go. Anyway, yeah, you could read a book around here. This is the man I wanted to talk to, actually, Alan Greenall. It was Peter Holford who won the pre-66. Alan Greenall here, though, who finished in second place. Let's just have a quick word with Alan. Alan, how you doing? Do you want some help? Do you want me to get door for you.
Blow away in the wind.
Yeah, and I'll hold it for you. P2 again today? Happy?
P2, yeah. Well, it's early in the season. The car didn't winter very well, so or rather, we started work on it a bit too late. But
fair enough. At least you're honest. Yeah.
We finished 2 races, so that's not too bad. But,
It's had a good stretch of its legs, eh?
yeah, it has. Yeah.
The boat, as we call it. We'll see you next time, Alan. Thank you so much. Next race coming up is the Brick Car Trophy. So I'm going to hand you back to Dave, and he'll talk you through the grids.